Rams house. On today's episode of the Rams Report, we're talking about 3 more Los Angeles Rams that could have a breakout year in 2026. We talked about some defensive candidates on a recent episode of the Rams Report presented by PrizePicks that could be improved by Myles Garrett. But today, we're going mostly offense. We're going to talk about some guys on the other side of the ball that could really take a big step this season. So let me know in the comments. Before we get into it, I want to hear from you guys. Who is breaking out for your Los Angeles Rams in 2026? Is it somebody on defense who's going to be positively impacted by the addition of Myles Garrett? Is it somebody on offense who's going to take a big step with Matthew Stafford? Let me know in the comments section below. Give me some names. And let's get started with Terrence Ferguson. Year 2 for T-Ferg in this offense on this team. And year 2 for Sean McVay skill position players is often a big test. Whether or not you were involved in year 1, that's okay. Often guys have to take some extra time to learn the scheme. But year 2, we want to see some production from Terrence Ferguson, some real impact from Terrence Ferguson. Because what he was last year was really efficient. 11 receptions, 25 targets, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 21 yards per catch. And we saw most of that production. It was very inconsistent. You know, he would have one game where he had like 40 yards. He'd have a game where he'd have like 60 yards. And then he'd have a 3 or 4 game stretch in between those where he literally did not see a single target and did not catch a pass. But we've already received some indication that year 2 is going to be very different for Terrence Ferguson. Sean McVay spoke about him pretty recently, giving us a very good quote on Terrence Ferguson. Here's what he had to say. I do think he had a really good rookie season, and I think the best is yet to come. And I want to focus on that first sentence for 1 second here. He had a really good rookie season, and I think that shows the public perception of what really good means for a rookie in the Rams offense is very different than what it means for Sean McVay, than what Sean McVay is looking to see. He's everything and that much more that I hoped he would be, and I had tremendously high hopes for him. I think that he's going to be a huge part of what we're going to do for years to come. Again, and I've said this before, I think Terrence Ferguson is part of the calculus of not making a move to address what seems to be and what we've described as the receiver 3 issue. This team is missing a third option at receiver on the receiver depth chart. It needs somebody to step up in that room on paper, but what if it doesn't have to necessarily be a wide receiver? What if it could just be another pass catcher in Terrence Ferguson? What if he could be the guy that ends up stepping up big time for this Rams team in his second season? I think he is more than capable of doing it. I think he's more than capable of delivering for this team. And even though they drafted Max Clare, it doesn't necessarily take him out of a position to do so. I think both of these guys are a huge part of the future of this team, and I think we'll really see Terrence take a leap in year 2. And we're going to talk about 2 more guys who I think are also going to take a leap this season in just 1 second. But before we do, I've got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, guys, and that is PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. If you love daily fantasy sports or you just want to add more excitement to watching sports, you've got to try out PrizePicks, guys. And it's a great time to get started on PrizePicks, too, with the NBA playoffs underway and the baseball season in full swing. There's no better place to get in on all that action than with our friends over at PrizePicks. And it's never been easier to play than it is with PrizePicks. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players, and you're selecting more or less on their stat projections, whether you're picking from points, assists, rebounds, if you're going for basketball, or if you're going for professional football. You can pick from sacks, receiving yards, rushing yards, whatever you want to pick on a number of different sports. And you guys can also tail or fade my lineups either by looking right here or by using PrizePicks' social feeds feature. My username is Jackson Durham. You guys can drop a follow, and you can tail me on this one where I'm taking the more on Myles Garrett, I'm taking the more on Puka, and I am taking the less on Christian McCaffrey. So if you guys are new to PrizePicks, make sure you use our promo code when you place this as your first lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. The clickable link to download the app is in the comments and the description below. As always, thank you very much to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. Let's get back to breakout candidate numero dos, Blake Corum. I think Blake Corum in year 3 here could be set to take a much bigger step. And we saw him take a step already last season. And we saw him be incredibly efficient with the volume he was given. 145 carries last year, 746 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. This was already, to some degree, a breakout year for Blake Corum. A breakout year in terms of his ability to produce. When you look at 2024, his rookie season, where he had just 207 yards. He went up by over 500 yards worth of rushing volume alone. But what we've heard this offseason is that the Rams, and I know, we've heard this a couple times, but I do think it is more true this year than it has been in the past. The Rams want to go closer to a 50-50 split in this backfield. The Rams want to have this thing be more Kyren sometimes and Blake pretty much equally paired. A handcuff type of system, as it were. And I think it is going to be possible for both of these guys to cross 1,000 yards rushing. I do think this Rams offense could be that good, where teams are so keyed in on the pass because they know what we have there for Matthew Stafford that they forget how big of a threat our two-headed monster can be in the backfield of Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. And I think if you give Corum just as much volume as Kyren is getting, it is absolutely possible for both of these guys to be incredibly efficient, like we've seen them be throughout their careers, and cross 1,000 yards. It's rare, but not impossible in NFL history for two backs in the same backfield to be 1,000-yard rushers. Is it happening for the Los Angeles Rams this season? Will Blake Corum cross the 1,000-yard mark? Let's play a little PrizePicks right here, my friends. Give me a more or less in the comments below on Blake Corum, 1,000 yards in 2026. More or less in the comments. Let me know what you think. I think even if he doesn't cross the 1,000-yard threshold, though, you will see a closer to 50-50 split between Corum and Kyren, and you will see Corum continue to show like he showed last season. He is one of the most underrated backs in the NFL. He's incredible with the work that he's given. He just doesn't get enough work to go out and show everybody how good he can be, which sometimes I think that's true of Kyren as well. Warren McClendon, though, our final breakout candidate, and this one might surprise you guys, but I think Warren McClendon is set to really finish what he started in 2025. This, for Warren, is the most important season of his career. It's one of the most important years, I would say, of his life so far in a lot of ways, both from a career perspective, well, exclusively from a career perspective. We'll leave it at that. He's got a lot of money on the line this season. This is a contract year for Warren McClendon as he approaches 2026, and he's coming off of an excellent 2025 season. Started the year as a backup for this Rams team. When injuries came up, though, for Rob Havenstein, he was ready to step up. He was able to fill in that right tackle spot and do so excellently. He allowed just the second lowest pressure rate of any right tackle in the entire NFL last season in the regular season. I know we got the graph here, but it's a little tricky to read for you guys when you see it. But yes, he is at the top there. The lowest pressure rate of any right tackle in the regular season last year. But then you get to the playoffs, and things changed for Warren. We saw him struggle significantly more in that time of year. At the end of the day, games got more difficult. Warren felt like the lights got a little bright for Warren McClendon in the playoffs last season. I think that's true. And again, he was facing one of the best defenses the league had to offer last season, if not the best defense the league had to offer last season in the Seahawks. I would say that was his worst game. But McClendon had difficulties, much bigger ones, than he did in the regular season. But I think 2026, with a lot on the line for him career-wise, in terms of like, hey, if I want to get a bag, this is the year where I got to show the Rams, I got to show the NFL at large that I am capable of taking that performance that I had last season, not just through the regular season, but all the way through the playoffs. Being that guy 20 games, not just 17. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's the growth point for Warren McClendon. We saw fantastic performance from him in the regular season last year. I want to see it as a full-time starter this year for this Rams team. There were questions in the draft season of, hey, do the Rams feel a need to go out and add a right tackle? Do the Rams feel a need to go out and address their offensive line? Or are they comfortable allowing Warren McClendon to fill the spot at right tackle, allowing Warren McClendon to be the guy at right tackle? They showed this offseason they trust him. Now it's time to reward that trust with an excellent season and then get rewarded with a massive bag. I'm rooting for Warren McClendon this season, but let me know, guys. I want to hear from you. In the comments of today's video, we talked about 3 Rams on today's show on the offensive side of the ball who I think have an opportunity to break out. I want to know who you think is going to do it. Give me a TF for Terren Ferguson, a BC for Blake Corum, or a WM for Warren McClendon. Let me know in the comment section below who's breaking out for the Rams this season. And that'll do it for us on today's episode of the Rams Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go, Rams.